got up super early. I think it's pretty common for tourists in Bali to wake up really early to start their tours so that they can like get out there, because some of the places of interest aren't close together, so you have to like get an early start to be able to fit everything in that you want to see. So we got up at 5:30 and got ready for our first Airbnb experience, and I had never done one of these before, neither had Ryan, and it ended up being like the best part of the trip was our tour with Ida. If I can find it, I'll link his experience down below because I can't recommend him enough if you're in the Ubud area. So he came and picked us up at our Airbnb and was so friendly and answered all of our questions about like cultural things in Bali because he's born and raised in Bali. Our first stop of the day was the Tegallalang rice terraces, which are the famous ones that you've probably seen pictures of. They're about 10 centuries old, so they're really old. Ida told us that there are about 150 workers that work there every single day. And it's pretty average for these rice farmers to make about $100 US a month, but they were some of the most enthusiastic, content, happy people that I've ever met, and it was a really inspiring moment. Since we got there so early, there was virtually no one else there other than the actual workers, so we got to just like kind of walk wherever we wanted, see the sights without people being in the way, and it was amazing.
Yes.
Can't believe we're here right now.
And you have to run away from them.
The next stop was our luwak coffee tour and tasting. So luwak coffee is a special kind of coffee that these little ferret-like, squirrel-like animals in Bali called luwaks have this like sixth sense of being able to discover the best kind of coffee beans. They'll eat beans that are just growing like on a farm or out in nature. They'll eat the beans. They only digest the acidic part of them, so that the ending bean that they don't actually digest is super sweet and not very hard on your stomach. So they don't digest them, they poop them out. And then the people that work on the farms just go around in the mornings after the luwaks have like done their thing overnight, and they'll pick up the luwak poop, which is full of coffee beans, and then they'll bring them back to the farm. They'll wash them a few times, roast them, and then turn them into coffee. It's like a delicacy of Bali, luwak coffee. So we got to get a tour of the farm, and then we had a tasting of about 12 different coffees and teas that they make on this farm with a view, and it was gorgeous and delicious. My favorites were the vanilla coffee and the rosella tea. Saying that I like the vanilla coffee is actually pretty big because I'm not a coffee drinker, but I actually really liked this coffee. So the third stop of the day was the Holy Spring Water Temple, which is also known as Tirta Empul, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong because I don't speak Indonesian, but bear with me. Bali is one of the very few places in Indonesia that's actually Hindu. Most of Indonesia is Muslim. Bali is like very proud of its Hindu culture, so there are so many temples all around Bali. The water there to the Hindu people of Bali is very, very, very sacred. Anyone can come and bathe in the water to purify their energy, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Looking stunning. probably the highlight of the day for me. It was the Bali swing, which I'm sure you've seen so many influencers like posing on these swings with beautiful backgrounds, and that's basically what I did. Ryan is scared of heights, so he didn't join me, but shout out to him for being my professional videographer and photographer of the moment. We waited in line and I was able to go on this like 30-foot tall swing overlooking this beautiful rice terrace. Thinking back to that moment of the wind going through my hair and just feeling such contentment and happiness and awe at what I was looking at was unforgettable, magical, beautiful, I'll never forget, surreal.
Actually doesn't look that scary.
Stop of the day was the Mooi River Valley and Blangsinga waterfall. Here was where we got our lunch, which was delicious and in such a cool location. The view was amazing, and also just like the vibe of the restaurant was really cool. If you're ever in that area, I highly recommend going to Mooi River Valley. After lunch, we hiked down to the waterfall and got to see some beautiful sights. The vegetation there was just insane. Like the leaves and the trees were so big. It was so cool to see. Bali in general is just insanely lush and green and beautiful and just jaw-dropping.
Years and love. 45 miles per hour the whole way.
Then that afternoon we went back to the Airbnb, showered, relaxed, and walked to dinner at Cafe Vespa once again. After dinner we went for a walk down the street that our Airbnb was on, and we got to see, I'm overusing this word, but probably the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. The largest mountain in Bali is called Mount Batoon, and a lot of people will go and hike it so that they can see the sunrise from up there or the sunset. We didn't have enough time to do that, but it doesn't always show itself. It's often covered in clouds because it's so much taller than everything else in Bali that it's hard to see a lot of the time. So we were just going on our walk, minding our own business, and all of a sudden we looked to our right and there was this giant, beautiful mountain just like standing there that we had no idea was there because we walked down there before and we hadn't seen it because it had been covered. So we're looking at the mountain, and then all of a sudden, a hot air balloon starts rising up next to the mountain. And I've just never seen anything more serendipitous or perfect. It was phenomenal.
So we're just walking along this path here. Tiny little path. And
Beautiful.
All of a sudden we come across this view and we see that there's a hot air balloon rising. So we're gonna sit here and wait till it comes up.
Day 4 started off slow, which was really nice. We slept in, had breakfast at our Airbnb again, and then we also went for a walk down our street again, which we went for a much longer walk this time and just kind of explored, saw a bunch of rice paddies and rice terraces, and got to get a feel of like the village that we were staying in. afternoon, we went to Ubud Center. We went to a cafe and just chatted about the trip and how we were feeling. Then we went souvenir shopping in the markets of Ubud, and Ubud is famous for the markets that it has, which were so awesome. We found a lot of cool things for our friends and family. That night we had dinner at Casa Luna, which was my favorite restaurant aesthetically of the trip, and it also had amazing food. It had authentic Indonesian food in this amazing setting of like a straw hut, and just so good, so good.
Cheers, hon.